Hello, this is Alexi George, and welcome back to the class Hope in Suffering, Joy in Liberation. So we continue our lectures today, and then I will go back to our PowerPoint. And we ended with poetry in the New Testament. Okay, that's where we ended, poetry in the New Testament. And we will move on to wisdom literature right after this. Poetry in the New Testament. Wisdom writings, okay? Defining wisdom and sapiential tradition. So we are going through our syllabus step by step. So under wisdom literature, first we're defining what is this wisdom literature or the sapiential tradition. The sapiential or wisdom books. The word sapiential is from the Latin word sapientia, meaning wisdom. Okay, so the term sapiential books or wisdom books is used in biblical studies to refer to a subset of the books of the Hebrew Bible in the Septuagint version. So the Hebrew Bible has so many books, and under that there's one section of it or a subset, and that is the books of wisdom, sapiential books. There are 5 of these books, specifically Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Songs. And also you have Sirach, which is Ecclesiasticus, which is part of the Deuterocanonical, not part of the regular biblical tradition. Okay, not all the Psalms are usually regarded as belonging to the wisdom tradition, but much of it is. Okay, that's a basic idea of what the wisdom books are and what the wisdom literature is. Okay, and I forgot to turn on my timer, so let me turn that on so I could keep it within 15 to 20 minutes. I don't want to make the lectures too long. All right, otherwise I will go on forever and may not stop. All right, next, wisdom in Judaism. All right, in Judaism, the books of wisdom are regarded as part of the Ketuvim, or the writings. In Christianity, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes are included in the Old Testament by all traditions, while wisdom, Song of Songs, and Sirach are regarded in some traditions as deuterocanonical works, which are placed in the Apocrypha within the Anglican and Protestant Bible translation. So basically, we have these extra wisdom books that are not part of our Bible, but these are part of the traditions of deuterocanonical. So that means deuterocanonical means like the second canon. Okay, it is not part of the regular canon, and these are the books that were not accepted as part of the regular canon. All right. So, but we need to know such books are there, and the Anglican, Catholics, and others have added those other books as well. And they're good reading, and but we don't consider that to be part of the biblical writings. We don't consider that part of the inspired Word of God, but they are nice reading or interesting reading. All right. The wisdom in the ancient Near East. Okay, so the sapiential books are in the broad tradition of wisdom literature that was found widely in the ancient Near East, including many religions other than Judaism. So what does this mean? This means that Israel, part of the many nations in the ancient Near East, okay, Israel or Judaism was only one of those nations. Okay. So the sapiential books in the Bible are part of the broad tradition of wisdom literature that is found throughout the ancient Near East. So what does this mean? This means that throughout the ancient Near East, there was wisdom literature, wisdom writings. There were sages and wise people who were constantly teaching the people and guiding the people and directing them in the way they need to live their lives. Okay, and this was part of that. Now, I'm using those terms very carefully. This was part of that. Now, there are some scholars who would say that no, Israel didn't have much of their own wisdom. It was just what they collected from other places, what they borrowed from other places, or simply copied from other nations. Okay, Israel just didn't have anything like that. But I don't think so. My perspective regarding this is that yes, Israel would have borrowed some because they are part of that society of that time. So there will be some wisdom traditions that are just part of the common understanding. Okay, but along with that, we need to understand that Israel, they shared with others and others shared with them. So it would have been a blend. Okay, how do we know that? We see how um, Solomon is sharing his wisdom, and the Queen of Sheba comes and listens to him, and obviously would probably, I would imagine that she would have brought, she didn't come by herself. Okay, if it's the Queen of Sheba, she would come with a whole entourage of people, and part of that would be people who are scribes who would write down things that Solomon would say so that it could be recorded and that she would be able to read it or pass it on to the people in her nation as well. So, like this, there would be, so this is wisdom shared at the higher levels, but maybe there would be traveling sages who would go and teach all over the place, and this would not be uncommon. I would think that this would be part of what happens in that time. Even today, we know that now we have people that travel from India to other nations. People from other nations come to India. They share their wisdom, they share their teachings. And now, because of the internet, things go all over the world. Okay, this is just part of sharing what is available in the world, and that is not a problem. Okay, next, sages and sapiential discourses and worldviews. Okay, in the days of Jeremiah and Ezekiel, we have two passages there. You can look at those later. I didn't put it here to share with you directly, but there are three distinct classes of religious teachers that were recognized by the people. First, the prophets were recognized. Okay, they were very important for the people because they taught the people and they directed and guided the people. Second, there were priests, and the priests were people who also continued to teach the people too, but they had a different perspective rather than the prophets. Okay, the prophets um, were more vigorous in their approach. They wanted to get the people lined up, get the people back in line with God's plan for the people, okay, when they had gone astray. But the priests were more like they were the regular ones who were the regular teachers. They were regular in guiding and teaching and developing the people. Okay, and then number three, the wise men or sages. Okay, these were people who were the wisdom people. Okay, these were the people who gave the sapiential discourses, and this is important because this showed them. These were the people who would travel and sit in different places teaching the people. Okay, now let's look at the role of these sages. And these are very interesting thoughts here. From their lips and pens have come practically all the writings of the Old Testament. Okay, and of these three classes, the wise men or sages are far less prominent or well known. Okay, so from where does all the writings of the Old Testament come from? It comes from the prophets, priests, and the wise men or the sages. Okay, all right. Of these three classes of people, the wise men or the sages, they are far less prominent and less known. Many times we don't even know their names. Solomon we know, but others we may not know much of their names. So they wrote no history of Israel. They preached no public sermons, nor do they appear to have been connected with any sanctuaries of the different places. Okay, so but priests, they were connected with different sanctuaries, and they had those particular roles. But the sages, they didn't have that. Quietly, as private teachers, they appealed to the nation through the conscience and wills of individuals. Okay, so you might say, uh, who are these people? Where do they come from? And do we have any information? We really don't have much information about who they are, but it is assumed that they existed. Why? Because such wonderful literature is available to us, and it would definitely come from such people, or we would assume that it would come from such people. Okay. Otherwise, we would have only prophets and priests, and but the wise men or sages would have been part of that complete circle. All right. By the way, we do have indications. By the way, you look at Jeremiah and Ezekiel, these verses, and you can find that. Methods of the sages. All right. Proverbs 8, 1 to 5 reveals their methods or reveals the methods of the sages. Here it is. Doth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice? On the top of the high places by the way, where the paths meet, so these are the crossroads, she stands. All right. Besides the gates, at the entry of the city, at the coming, at the coining in, at the doors, she cries aloud, unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O ye simple, understand prudence, and you fools, be of an understanding heart. Okay? So when we look at Proverbs 1, Proverbs 8, 1 to 5, we often think of just the metaphorical idea of wisdom just talking to the people everywhere, right? That maybe that is true. Okay, wisdom is there in the land and people don't give ear to the wisdom. But this also may indicate sages and wise people who sat in different places of the land and they taught the people, and this would have been part of the culture and part of what they did. And why not? And this would be important part of the society. So what are we talking about? We're talking about wisdom writings. We're defining, first of all, what is this idea of wisdom and sapiential tradition? And I gave you the background of the word sapientia, simply means wisdom. That's all right. It's a subset of the books of the Bible. It's wisdom books. It's a grouping of books. Now we're here in Judaism and in Christianity. So in Judaism, it comes under the section of writings. In Christianity, it's an entire section of books. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes are included. But then other sections of Christianity include more books that are part of the deuterocanonical works, which we do not include, but they are good reading. Wisdom in the ancient Near East. Now, this is a very important key to this discussion, because wisdom was there in the ancient Near East. Okay, wisdom was shared in the ancient Near East among the nations, among the people. It was part of the culture. It was part of the tradition. It was part of the known uh, um, knowledge of that time, and it was shared knowledge. Okay, now some will say, no, it wasn't shared knowledge. Israel just borrowed everything. I don't buy that. Okay, that Israel just borrowed everything. Okay, there were things borrowed. Why not? Because they're part of that society. But at the same time, Israel had their own wisdom and it was shared. Okay, sages and sapiential discourses and worldviews. We said there were three people. There were religious teachers, prophets, priests, and wise men or sages. These are three. These three, from them come practically all the writings of the Old Testament. Okay, but the sages or the wise men are the less known. We'd even wonder, did they even exist? But they definitely would have existed. Okay, because we have such a huge amount of such wisdom writings. All right. And here is something that we might even say it's an assumption. Proverbs 8, 1 to 5, it could be an assumption of where this comes from. And we know that they may have sat in these places. And by looking at the culture of that time, such things did happen. Okay, good. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. And if you have doubts, if you have questions, please feel free to send me an email, send me a message. You're welcome to call me as well. And thank you and have a wonderful day. And don't forget, please keep looking at the portal. Okay, and I know I'm not using this semester, I'm not using Google Classroom, but look at what is called a portal, that file that I've shared with you. Keep the link to that file. And if anyone doesn't have it, please check with your classmates. You can get it from them. And in that file, I have the entire syllabus for this class, as well as each of the videos listed and other videos as well. I've shared with you other videos of other people who are teaching in a similar thoughts, so that you have more input from other people as well. And I will also give you extra reading, which will help you for this as well. And assignments, that also is coming. I will share that as well. Okay, thank you and have a great day.